The stars looked different out here. Corporal Jiwon Kim stood at the observation window of the human diplomatic vessel, watching the massive alien station grow larger as they approached. She had been a Marine for 6 years, but this was her first time meeting aliens. Real aliens. Not the kind from movies or books, but actual living beings from another world. Nervous? Captain Hana Park appeared beside her, hands clasped behind her back. Jiwon straightened. "No, ma'am, just curious." Hana smiled slightly. "We all are. Try not to stare too much when we board. The Veldrati don't like it." The station was enormous, easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest space habitat. It gleamed silver and blue under the light of a distant star. Strange organic curves covered its surface, nothing like the angular designs humans preferred. No weapons that Jiwon could see, no defensive turrets or shield generators, just smooth walls and what looked like gardens growing on the outer hull. "They're not big on security, are they?" Jiwon observed. "They don't need it," Hana replied. "According to our first contact team, the Veldrati have never experienced war. None of the species in their collective have." Jiwon frowned. "Never? Not even once?" "Not the way we understand it. They have disagreements, sure. Arguments over territory or resources. But they settle things through talking or just waiting until one side gives up." Hana shook her head. "It's hard to explain. You'll see." 20 minutes later, Jiwon walked through the docking tunnel alongside Ambassador Taeho Lee and his staff. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with aliens. Jiwon had seen pictures during the briefing, but seeing them in person was different. The Veldrathi came in many forms. Some looked like insects, tall and thin with multiple arms and jeweled eyes. Others appeared crystalline, their bodies reflecting light in rainbow patterns. There were creatures that resembled birds, others like living plants. All of them moved with a strange grace, as if violence had never touched their evolution. A particularly large insectoid alien approached. Its carapace was deep purple, decorated with silver patterns. 4 eyes studied the human delegation with obvious interest. "Welcome, humans of Earth," the alien said through a translation device on its chest. "I am Velmoth, High Counselor of the Veldrathi Collective. We are pleased to meet you." Ambassador Taeho bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, High Counselor. We come in peace and friendship." "Peace," Velmoth repeated, and Jiwon could have sworn the alien sounded amused. "Yes, we assumed as much. You seem quite harmless." Jiwon blinked. "Harmless." She glanced at Hana, who kept her expression neutral. Taeho continued smoothly. "We hope to establish cultural and scientific exchange between our peoples. We have much to learn from each other." "Indeed," a crystalline alien said, stepping forward. Its voice chimed like bells. "I am Kwanir, Chief Scientist of the Collective. We are very curious about your species. You are so small and soft. Your bodies have no natural defenses, no armor plating, no toxic secretions, no enhanced strength. How did you survive your world's predators?" "We used our intelligence," Taeho replied diplomatically. "Fascinating." "And what about competition with other species on your world? Surely larger, stronger creatures dominated your environment." "We learned to work together," Taeho said. "Cooperation became our strength." The aliens seemed to find this delightful. They made sounds that the translator rendered as laughter. "How charming," Velmoth declared. "A species that survived through friendship rather than adaptation. Come, let us show you our station. We have prepared a cultural exchange space." The tour was educational but strange. Jiwon noticed things that bothered her professional instincts. The doors had no locks. The computer systems had no security protocols. Sensitive areas were marked with signs, but anyone could walk in. When she quietly mentioned this to Ensign Minho Choi, another Marine in the security detail, he nodded. I noticed that too, Minho whispered. They don't even have cameras, no surveillance at all. What if someone steals something? Ji-won asked. I asked one of them. They said, why would anyone steal? Like the concept was foreign to them. In the cultural exchange chamber, humans presented examples of their art and music. The Veldrathi watched with polite interest. Dr. Yuna Song, the xenobiologist, showed them recordings of Earth's animals and plants. Your world is very violent, Kwanir observed, watching a video of a lion hunting. So much predation. How disturbing. It's natural selection, Yuna explained. Life on Earth evolved through competition. How primitive, Velmoth said, though not unkindly, just stating a fact, the way one might comment on the weather. Our world's evolution was quite different. Cooperation was always more beneficial than conflict. The species that shared resources survived. Those that fought died out quickly. Taiho showed them human sports next. Football, basketball, martial arts demonstrations. The aliens watched curiously. You simulate combat for entertainment? Thexalar, a bird-like alien, asked, its feathers ruffled in what might have been confusion. Why? It's competitive play, Taiho explained. We enjoy testing our skills against each other. But someone loses. Doesn't the loser feel terrible? Sometimes. But we learn from losing. It helps us improve. The aliens conferred among themselves in their own languages, the translators producing only fragments. Ji-won caught words like aggressive and primitive and competitive instincts. When the presentations ended, Velmoth addressed the humans again. We appreciate your sharing. Your culture is very energetic. We look forward to learning more. However, I must ask, your species seems quite fragile. How do you plan to contribute to the collective? We value all members, but each brings unique strengths. Your technology is adequate but not exceptional. Your physical forms are weak. What is your advantage? The question hung in the air. Ji-won saw Taiho's jaw tighten slightly. We are adaptable, the ambassador said carefully. We solve problems creatively. We've survived ice ages, natural disasters, and adapted to every environment on our world. Survival skills! Yes, that could be useful, Velmoth agreed. Though I must say, you seem very safe now. Your ship has extensive life support, protective systems. You've removed yourselves from danger quite thoroughly, a species that has made itself comfortable. Ji-won felt a flash of irritation. Comfortable? These aliens had no idea what humans had been through, what they were capable of. But she kept her face blank and her mouth shut. She was here to protect the diplomats, not insult their hosts. As the delegation prepared to return to their ship for the night, Ji-won overheard two Veldrathi talking near the docking port. Such a gentle species, one said. Yes, harmless creatures. We should find a place for them in the collective. Perhaps they could tend the gardens. They seem to enjoy growing things. Ji-won bit her tongue and followed Captain Hana back to the ship. Once aboard and in the privacy of the crew quarters, Minho laughed. Did you hear them? They think we're gardeners. Peaceful little gardeners who couldn't hurt a fly. Let them think it, Hana said quietly. We're here to make friends, not impress them with our military capabilities. Ji-won nodded, but something bothered her about the whole situation. These aliens had built a massive civilization spanning multiple star systems. They had advanced technology and complex social structures, but they had done it all without ever fighting, without ever needing to defend themselves. She wondered what would happen if something dangerous ever found them, something that didn't care about talking or cooperation. These peaceful aliens wouldn't stand a chance. But that wasn't her problem. Her job was simple. Protect the ambassador, smile politely at the aliens, and don't cause an incident. Still, as she lay in her bunk that night, Ji-won couldn't shake the feeling that the Veldrathi's peaceful existence was fragile, like a bubble that had never been tested, beautiful, perfect, and ready to burst at the slightest touch. The second day of cultural exchange started with a shared meal. The Veldrathi had prepared a variety of foods compatible with human biology, and the humans brought samples from Earth in return. The dining hall was beautiful, with living walls that glowed softly and furniture that seemed to grow from the floor. Jiwon sat at a table with Ensign Minho Choi and Dr. Yuna Song. Across from them sat Thexlar, the bird-like alien, and Krilvon, a historian whose body looked like flowing water contained in a transparent membrane. "Tell us about human history," Krilvon said, its voice bubbling pleasantly. "We wish to understand your journey to the stars." Minho, always eager to talk, launched into an explanation. "Well, we started as hunter-gatherers thousands of years ago, small tribes moving across the land. Eventually, we settled down, built cities, developed agriculture." "Agriculture?" Thexlar interrupted, feathers fluffing with interest. "We also cultivate food. When did you domesticate your first plants?" "About 12,000 years ago," Yuna supplied. "Maybe earlier. We're still finding new evidence." "And you lived peacefully after that?" Krilvon asked. "Farming communities cooperating and sharing resources?" Minho paused, glancing at Jiwon. "Well, not exactly. There were conflicts, disagreements over land, resources, that sort of thing." "Oh yes, we understand minor disputes," Krilvon said. "Every species has them." "How did you resolve these conflicts? Through councils? Compromise?" "Sometimes," Minho said carefully, "but other times, well, sometimes groups fought each other." "Fought?" Thexlar tilted its head. "You mean physical confrontation, like your competitive sports?" "Sort of, but more serious." Jiwon saw where this was going. She tried to catch Minho's eye to signal him to change the subject, but the young ensign was already too deep in the conversation. "My grandfather actually participated in one of these conflicts," Minho said. "The last border war, we called it. He was very proud of his service." "Service?" Krilvon leaned forward with interest. "What kind of service?" "Military service. He was a soldier." The aliens looked at each other, confused. The translation devices on their bodies clicked and whirred, searching for meanings. "I don't understand the word soldier," Thexlar said. "The translator cannot find an equivalent in our language." Yuna set down her fork, looking concerned. Jiwon felt her stomach tighten. "A soldier is someone trained for combat," Minho explained, "for organized fighting between groups." More confusion from the aliens. Krilvon's watery body rippled with what might have been thought. "You mean a mediator? Someone who helps resolve disputes through physical displays?" "No, not displays. Actual combat, fighting to win." "Win what?" Thexlar asked. "Territory, resources, political control." Minho was getting animated now, not noticing the aliens' growing discomfort. "The last border war was about disputed territory between two nations. My grandfather's unit fought for months to secure the northern region." Jiwon decided to intervene. "It's complicated. Human history has periods of conflict that are difficult to explain." But Thexlar was fixated now, its large eyes unblinking. "When you say fought for months, what do you mean exactly? How many individuals were involved in this combat?" "Oh, that was a small one," Minho said casually. "Maybe 10,000 on each side." The aliens went very still. 10,000, Krilvon repeated slowly. 10,000 individuals engaged in physical combat, with each other. "Yeah. Well, not all at once. It was spread out over different battles and positions." "Battles?" Thexlar's feathers had gone flat against its body. "Multiple instances of combat?" "Right." Yuna tried to soften it. "What Minho is describing is something called war. It's when large groups of humans organized into opposing forces. War. Krilvan tested the word. I have heard this term from your databases. I thought it was a metaphor, a linguistic expression for strong disagreement. It's more than disagreement, Jiwan said quietly. Other Veldrathi at nearby tables had stopped eating. The room was getting quiet as more aliens tuned into the conversation. Thexlar made a sound like wind through reeds. Explain war. Use simple terms. Jiwan took a breath. War is organized conflict between large groups, usually nations or states. It involves planned combat operations, strategic objectives, and dedicated forces trained specifically for fighting. How large are these groups? Krilvan asked. Depends on the war. The last border war was small, maybe 20,000 total combatants. Thexalar's feathers puffed out fully, a sign of extreme agitation. 20,000 humans fighting each other? Deliberately? This seems impossible. That's nothing, Minho said, and Jiwan wanted to kick him under the table. The big wars involved millions. Complete silence fell over the dining hall. Velmoth appeared from a side entrance, moving quickly toward their table. Quanir followed, its crystalline body refracting the light in sharp, anxious patterns. Did I understand correctly? Velmoth demanded. Your species engaged in conflicts involving millions of individuals? Jiwan stood, defaulting to military formality. Yes, High Counselor. Human history includes periods of large-scale warfare. Define large-scale, Quanir said, its chiming voice now sharp. Yuna answered, trying to be precise. The largest conflict in human history involved most of the major nations on Earth. We call it the Second World War. It lasted 6 years and involved over 100 million combatants. The aliens reacted as if they'd been physically struck. Velmoth's 4 eyes went wide. Thexlar made a keening sound. Krilvan's body rippled violently. 100 million, Velmoth said slowly. 100 million individuals trained and organized for combat, for 6 of your years. Yes. And the casualties? Quanir asked. Surely most survived? Jiwan looked at Yuna, who looked at Minho. None of them wanted to answer. Finally, Jiwan spoke. Approximately 70 to 85 million deaths. Military and civilian combined. The number hung in the air like a physical thing. More Veldrathi had gathered now, forming a crowd around the human table. Their reactions varied by species. Some went completely still, others made distressed sounds. A few backed away, as if the humans might suddenly become violent. 85 million, Velmoth repeated. Your species killed 85 million of your own kind, in a single conflict. It was the worst one, Minho said weakly. We learned from it. We don't do that anymore. How many wars has your species fought? Krilvan demanded. Jiwan felt her throat go dry. That's difficult to answer. It depends on how you define war. If you mean major conflicts involving nations, thousands, maybe tens of thousands over recorded history. Tens of thousands of wars, Thexlar whispered. Tens of thousands. Quanir's crystalline structure pulsed with rapid light. And you said some individuals are trained specifically for combat? This is their purpose? Military personnel, yes, Jiwan confirmed. That's what I am. A Marine. Someone trained for combat operations. Every alien eye in the room focused on Jiwan. She felt like a predator that had just been revealed in a flock of prey animals. Velmoth took a step back. You are trained to fight? To kill? To defend, Jiwan corrected. To protect. But yes, combat training is part of my role. How many like you exist? Velmoth asked. In the human military, across all branches and nations? Maybe 50 million active personnel, several hundred million reserves and veterans. The aliens erupted into panicked conversation. Their various languages created a cacophony of clicks, chimes, whistles, and bubbles. The translation devices struggled to keep up. Velmoth raised one of its limbs for silence. We require clarification. You are telling us that your entire species evolved while constantly fighting yourselves, that you have dedicated institutions for training killers, that your culture has experienced tens of thousands of these wars? Yes, Yuna said simply. But you need to understand the context. Context. Velmoth's voice rose. What context makes this acceptable? We thought you were a peaceful species. You came here speaking of friendship and cooperation. We are peaceful now, Yuna insisted. We've grown beyond constant warfare. We've built international laws, peacekeeping forces, diplomatic solutions. Built from what? Quanir interrupted. From millions of corpses, from thousands of wars. You are predators, killers. We invited killers into our collective. Ambassador Taiho arrived, having been summoned from another section of the station. His face was calm, but Jiwon could see the tension in his shoulders. High Counselor, please, let us explain properly. Human history is complex, but explain it to the Council. Velmoth cut him off. All of it. Every detail. Tomorrow you will present a full accounting of your species' violent history. The Council will decide if humans can be trusted. The High Counselor turned and left. The other aliens followed, casting fearful glances back at the human delegation. Jiwon, Minho, Yuna, and the others stood alone in the empty dining hall. Minho looked stricken. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't think. It's not your fault, Taiho said quietly. They would have found out eventually. We should have been more forthcoming from the start. What do we do now? Yuna asked. Taiho looked at the empty hall, at the beautiful, peaceful station built by species who had never known war. Now, he said, we try to make them understand. The council chamber was massive, designed to hold representatives from all 7 species of the Veldrathi collective. Curved walls rose high overhead, covered in living plants that glowed with soft bioluminescence. At the center stood a circular platform where the human delegation now waited. Jiwon stood at attention beside Captain Hana Park, both in formal dress uniforms. Ambassador Taiho stood at the front with Dr. Yuna Song and Lieutenant Somin Kang, a military historian who had been brought specifically for this presentation. The weight of hundreds of alien eyes pressed down on them. Velmoth sat at the High Council seat, flanked by representatives of each species. Quanir was there, along with Thexlar, Krilvan, and others Jiwon didn't recognize. All of them watched the humans with expressions ranging from fear to disgust to morbid curiosity. We have reviewed your databases, Velmoth began, its voice echoing in the chamber. What we found disturbs us greatly. We request full explanation. Leave nothing out. We must know what kind of species we have welcomed into our space. Taiho stepped forward. Thank you for this opportunity, High Counselor. We understand your concern. What you've learned about humanity must seem shocking. I ask only that you listen with open minds and let us provide context. Proceed, Velmoth said coldly. Taiho gestured to Lieutenant Somin Kang, who activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above the platform. Human beings evolved on a world very different from yours, Somin began. Her voice was steady, professional. Earth is a planet of intense competition. Resources are limited. Predators and prey locked in constant struggle. Natural disasters reshape the landscape. Survival required adaptation, intelligence, and yes, the ability to fight. Images showed Earth's animals, lions hunting zebras, bears catching salmon, sharks circling in dark water. Your evolution was different, Somin continued. Your worlds favored cooperation because resources were abundant and predation was rare. Our world favored those who could compete and survive, not just against other species, but against each other. The images changed to show early humans, small tribes with primitive tools. Our ancestors lived in groups for protection, but different groups competed for the same resources: hunting grounds, water sources, safe territories. This competition sometimes became violent. Thexalar spoke up, its feathers ruffled. But you developed intelligence. Couldn't you simply talk and share resources? We tried, Soman said. We still do. But in a world of scarcity, sharing often meant both groups would starve. Our early history was shaped by this harsh reality. The images advanced through time. Ancient civilizations, armies with spears and shields, castles and fortifications. As human populations grew, so did conflicts. We organized into larger groups. Tribes became villages. Villages became cities. Cities became nations. And nations competed with each other. Krilvan's watery body pulsed. Competed through war. Yes, Soman admitted. War became a tool of competition, territory, resources, power, sometimes ideology or religion. Humans fought for many reasons. The hologram showed armies marching, ancient battles, medieval warfare. The images were sanitized, not showing gore, but the scale was clear. Thousands of humans arranged in formations, weapons ready. Quanir made a sound like breaking glass. You organized this. You planned it. You created systems specifically for mass violence. We did, Samin said. We developed military science, strategy and tactics, logistics and supply chains. We built academies to teach warfare. We wrote books analyzing how to win battles. She displayed texts. The Art of War, Clausewitz's On War, military manuals from dozens of cultures. You studied killing, Velmoth said, like other species study mathematics or art. We studied survival, Somin corrected gently. In a world where threats were constant, understanding combat meant staying alive. It meant protecting our families and communities. The presentation continued. Images of weapons development through the ages: swords, bows, gunpowder, cannons. The Industrial Revolution bringing mechanized warfare. You dedicated resources to creating better weapons, Quanir observed. Some of your brightest minds focused on developing more efficient ways to kill. Yes, Soman said quietly. That's true. Then came the hardest part. Images of the world wars. Trenches and tanks, naval battles, aerial bombardment. The mushroom cloud rising over Hiroshima. The council chamber went deathly silent. The 20th century brought our most devastating conflicts, Somin explained. Technology had advanced. Communications allowed coordination across continents. Industry could produce weapons at massive scale. The results were catastrophic. She showed statistics, casualty counts, displaced populations, cities reduced to rubble. 70 million dead in the Second World War alone, Velmoth said. We saw this number yesterday. We still cannot comprehend it. Neither can we, Taiho said, stepping forward. No human can truly comprehend that scale of loss. It's beyond individual understanding, but we felt it. Our entire species felt it. Soman brought up more images, the United Nations forming. Peace treaties. International laws. The world wars taught us something vital, she said, that we could destroy ourselves, that our capacity for warfare had grown beyond sustainability. So we changed. Changed how? Thexlar asked skeptically. You still have militaries. Your Corporal Kim stands before us in uniform. We still have the capacity for war, Somin agreed. But we built frameworks to prevent it. International cooperation, diplomatic channels, laws governing combat when it does occur. We created the Geneva Conventions to limit warfare's cruelty. We established peacekeeping forces to intervene in conflicts. We built alliances to make war between major powers unthinkable. Krilvan bubbled thoughtfully. You learned from your violence. We had to, Yuna spoke up. After nuclear weapons, after seeing what industrial warfare could do, we had a choice: destroy ourselves or find another way. We chose to survive. Velmoth leaned forward. But you maintained your militaries. You still train for combat. Why, if you claim to have moved beyond war? Jiwon found herself speaking before she realized it. Because peace requires the ability to defend it. All eyes turned to her. She swallowed but continued. I'm a Marine. My job is to fight if needed. But I've never fired a shot in anger. Neither has anyone in my unit. We train constantly. Stay ready. But we hope never to fight. That's the point. We're prepared for threats so that threats don't become reality. A deterrent, Quanir said. You maintain violent capability to prevent violence. Yes. And to protect those who can't protect themselves. Velmoth made a complicated gesture. This is difficult to understand. Our species have never needed protection. We have no predators, no threats. You're very lucky, Hana said quietly. Our galaxy wasn't so kind. Soman continued the presentation, showing humanity's last 2 centuries, the gradual reduction in global conflict, the formation of Earth's unified government, space exploration as a common goal. Human warfare hasn't disappeared, she said honestly. Small conflicts still occur, but major wars between great powers, we haven't had one in over 150 years. We learned, slowly, painfully, but we learned. She brought up humanity's cultural output. Literature examining war's horrors, films showing its futility, monuments to the dead, museums preserving the memory of what was lost. We don't glorify war, Soman said. We remember it. We teach every generation what it costs. We make sure they understand why we chose peace. Thexler ruffled its feathers. Yet you came here with military personnel. Why bring soldiers if you claim to be peaceful? Because we know the galaxy isn't always safe, Taiho said. We hope for peace, but we prepare for reality. Lieutenant Soman, show them the defense analysis. Soman pulled up scans of Veldrathi space. Your territory is vast, beautiful, and completely undefended. No military installations, no patrol craft, no security protocols. Anyone could enter your space and you wouldn't know until they arrived. Why would we need such things? Velmoth asked. No one has ever threatened us. No one yet, Jiwon said. But the galaxy is large. You've been lucky to find only peaceful species. What if that changes? Quanir pulsed with agitated light. Are you threatening us? No, Taiho said quickly. We're trying to help you understand our perspective. Humans learned that danger can come from unexpected places. We learned to stay vigilant. It's not paranoia. It's wisdom bought with blood. The chamber fell quiet. The council members conferred among themselves in hushed tones. Finally, Velmoth spoke. You are predators who learned to restrain yourselves, killers who chose not to kill, violent beings who built peace from the ashes of war. Yes, Taiho said simply. And you believe this makes you trustworthy? We believe it makes us realistic. We understand both war and peace. We know the value of both strength and restraint. Velmoth stood, its 4 eyes fixed on the human delegation. The council must deliberate. You will return to your ship and await our decision. We will determine if the Veldrathi collective can accept a warrior species among us. The humans bowed and left the chamber. As they walked through the corridors back to their ship, Jiwon saw aliens backing away from them, fear in their eyes. They're going to reject us, Minho said quietly. Maybe, Hana replied. Or maybe we gave them something to think about. Jiwon hoped so, because despite their fear, despite their horror at human history, she had seen something else in the council chamber. She had seen aliens who were completely unprepared for a dangerous galaxy. And she wondered what would happen when that danger finally found them. 3 days passed with no word from the Veldrathi Council. The human ship remained docked at the station, but no aliens visited. No messages came. The delegation existed in uncomfortable limbo, waiting for judgment. On the fourth morning, Ensign Hyun Park, the communications officer, received a priority message. Ambassador, the Council requests your presence. All senior staff should attend. The walk back to the Council chamber felt longer this time. Ji-won noticed the corridors were emptier than before. The few aliens they passed moved away quickly, avoiding eye contact. "They're afraid of us," Yuna whispered. "Can you blame them?" Hana replied. The council chamber looked different. The walls had been reconfigured, creating a more intimate space. Instead of hundreds of observers, only the core council members were present. Velmoth sat in the center, looking tired. Even aliens could look tired, Ji-won realized. "Humans of Earth," Velmoth began without preamble, "the Council has debated for 3 days. Your revelations have shaken our understanding of what sentient life can be. We have never encountered a species like yours." Taiho bowed. "We understand this has been difficult." "Difficult," Velmoth repeated. "Yes, that is one word for it. We have reviewed your entire history. Every war, every weapon, every philosophy of violence you have created. And we are divided." Quanir spoke up, its crystalline body dim. "Some council members believe you are too dangerous, that a species capable of such violence cannot be trusted, regardless of your current peaceful status." "And the others?" Taiho asked carefully. Thexelar ruffled its feathers. "Others believe we need to understand you better before making a final decision. I am among them. Your presentation raised questions." "We'll answer anything you ask," Taiho said. "Then answer this," Velmoth said. "You claim you have moved beyond constant warfare. You say you value peace, but you still maintain vast militaries. You still train your young in combat. You, Corporal Kim, stand before us as proof that humans still create warriors. How can we reconcile these contradictions?" Ji-won felt everyone's eyes on her. She straightened, choosing her words carefully. "I joined the Marines because of my great-grandfather," she said. "He fought in one of Earth's last major wars. He saw terrible things, lost friends, came home changed. But he told me something before he died." The council waited. "He said that good people need to understand war so that bad people can't use it against them. He said peace doesn't maintain itself. Someone has to be willing to stand guard while others sleep peacefully." "But if everyone is peaceful," Krilvon bubbled, "why do you need guards?" "Because not everyone is peaceful," Hana said. "Not in our history, at least. There were always those who chose violence over cooperation. Dictators who wanted power. Extremists who believed their ideology justified any action. If peaceful people had no way to defend themselves, those violent few would have controlled everything." Yuna added, "We learned that having the capacity for violence and choosing not to use it is different from being incapable of violence. One is strength under control. The other is just weakness." Velmoth made a thoughtful sound. "You believe your military forces represent controlled strength?" "Yes," Taiho said, "and we believe that strength has allowed us to maintain peace. When everyone knows war is possible but too costly, they choose other solutions." Quanir pulsed with light. "This is the deterrent concept you mentioned, mutual understanding that violence would harm everyone." "Exactly. It's not perfect, but it's worked for us." Thexelar leaned forward. "But what about your culture? We examined your entertainment, your literature, your games. Violence appears constantly. Your children play at war. Your stories celebrate warriors. How can you claim to value peace when violence permeates your culture?" Yuna fielded this question. "We tell war stories because they're part of our history. We need to remember. But if you look closer, you'll see most of our modern stories aren't about glorifying war. They're about its cost, about the sacrifices people make, about choosing peace even when violence would be easier. She activated a small display showing examples, films about soldiers who hated war, books about the aftermath of conflict, games that showed war's horror rather than its glory. "We don't hide violence from our children," Yuna explained. "We teach them what it means, what it costs, so they'll understand why we work so hard to prevent it." Krilvan's watery body swirled thoughtfully. "You use your violent history as an education, a warning." "Yes, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. That's an old human saying." The council members conferred quietly. Finally, Velmoth spoke again. "We have another concern. Your species fought primarily against yourselves, humans killing other humans. This seems particularly troubling. At least if you fought other species, it could be explained as competition for resources. But internal warfare suggests deep instability." Taiho sighed. "That's perhaps the hardest part to explain. Yes, we fought each other. Over land, resources, ideology, religion, pride, fear. Sometimes for reasons that seem absurd in hindsight. We were divided into nations, cultures, religions, political systems. Each group believed they were right." "And now?" Velmoth asked. "We're still divided in many ways. Humans aren't uniform. We have different cultures, beliefs, languages, but we found something more important than our differences." "What?" "Common humanity. The understanding that despite our differences, we're all the same species. We all want safety, prosperity, and meaning. We learned that cooperation benefits everyone more than competition." Hyun Park spoke for the first time. "We also learned that diversity is strength. Different perspectives help us solve problems. We don't want everyone to be the same. We just want everyone to work together despite being different." Kwanir made an interested sound. "You celebrate diversity while maintaining unity. How?" "It's not easy," Taiho admitted. "We still argue, still disagree, still have conflicts, but we resolve them through dialogue now, not warfare. We built institutions to help, international courts, mediators, economic partnerships that make war too expensive to consider." Thexalar's feathers smoothed slightly. "You created systems to make peace more beneficial than war." "Yes, and it works mostly. We're not perfect. We still have problems, but we're trying." Velmoth stood and walked closer to the human delegation. Its 4 eyes studied them carefully. "I begin to understand," the High Counselor said slowly. "You are not peaceful because you don't know violence. You are peaceful because you know it too well." "Yes," Jiwan said quietly. "We know exactly what war costs. That's why we avoid it. And your military training, your weapons, your vigilance. These are not preparations for war, but preparations against it." "That's right." Velmoth turned to address the full council. "I see it now. These humans are like a predator that has chosen to become vegetarian. They retain their fangs and claws, not to hunt, but to remember what they once were and choose to be something different." Krilvan bubbled thoughtfully. "A species that has transcended its violent nature through conscious choice, rather than evolutionary pressure. Perhaps more valuable than species who never knew violence at all," Thexalar added. "They understand what we do not." The mood in the chamber was shifting. Jiwan could feel it. The fear was still there, but now mixed with something else. Curiosity, perhaps even respect. But then alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. Velmoth's body went rigid with alarm. "What is happening?" Taiho demanded. A technician burst into the chamber, one of the insectoid species, its movements panicked. "High Counselor! Ships! Unknown ships entering our territory! They're not responding to hails! They're approaching Colony World Theta 7. Velmoth rushed to a console. "Show me." A holographic display appeared, showing a section of Veldrathi space. Dozens of red dots moved toward a green marker indicating a populated world. The ships were configured in attack formation. Even Ji-won could see that. "Who are they?" Kwanir demanded. "Unknown species. Database has no match. They're firing on the colony." The display showed energy weapons striking the planet's orbital stations. Explosions bloomed silently in the hologram. "Our people!" Thexelar cried. "There are millions on that world." Velmoth's 4 eyes were wide with something Ji-won recognized instantly. Terror. The kind of terror that comes from facing something you have no preparation for. The High Counselor turned to the humans, and in that moment, all the fear and distrust was replaced by desperate hope. "You understand war," Velmoth said urgently. "You know how to fight. Please, help us." Captain Hana Park moved before anyone else could speak. "Hyun, get me a direct line to Earth Command. Emergency priority. Tell them we need fleet support immediately." "Yes, ma'am." Hyun sprinted from the chamber. Taiho turned to Velmoth. "How many people are on that colony?" 3.7 million, Velmoth said, its voice shaking. "We have cargo ships nearby, but no weapons, no defenses. We don't know how to fight." "Then let us handle it," Hana said. "But we need information, everything you know about those attackers." The council members rushed to provide data. The attacking ships were designated as Kresh, based on transmission fragments the Veldrathi computers had intercepted. A hive species, aggressive, expansionist. They had appeared at the edge of Veldrathi space 3 weeks ago and had been making probing attacks on isolated outposts. 3 weeks? Ji-won asked sharply. "They've been attacking you for 3 weeks and you didn't think to mention this." Kwanir's crystalline body flickered with shame. "We thought they were confused, lost. We tried to communicate, to offer help. We didn't understand they were testing our defenses." "You don't have defenses," Hana said bluntly. She studied the tactical display. "How long until they reach the colony surface?" 30 minutes at their current speed." "And how long until human reinforcements can arrive?" Hyun returned out of breath. "Admiral Junho Kwon is mobilizing the 3rd Fleet, but even at maximum FTL speed, they're 4 hours away." Hana's jaw tightened. 4 hours. The colony would be destroyed by then. "What about our ship?" Ji-won asked. "We have weapons." "1 diplomatic vessel against a fleet?" Thexelar said. "Suicide." "Maybe," Hana agreed. "But we can buy time. Slow them down until reinforcements arrive." She looked at Velmoth. "High Counselor, I need you to evacuate as many civilians as possible. Use every ship you have. Get them away from population centers. Our cargo ships aren't designed for mass evacuation. Then redesign them. Fast. You have 25 minutes. Hana turned to Ji-won. "Corporal, get our security team armed and ready. If we need to board one of those ships, I want us prepared." Ji-won saluted and ran. The next 20 minutes were chaos. The human diplomatic ship, the Endeavor, undocked from the Veldrathi station and accelerated toward the colony. It wasn't a warship, but it had defensive weapons and shields designed for asteroid fields and space debris. More than the Veldrathi had, at least. On the bridge, Hana coordinated with the panicking Veldrathi authorities. "Get those cargo ships moving. I don't care if they're overloaded. Pack them full and get them out of the system." Ji-won stood in the armory with Minho and the 6 other Marines that comprised their security detail. They had combat armor, rifles, and grim determination. "This is insane," Minho said, checking his weapon. "We're 8 Marines in a diplomatic ship facing a fleet." "Then we better make every shot count," Ji-won replied. The Endeavor dropped out of FTL at the edge of the colony system. The tactical display showed the Kresh fleet clearly now, 27 ships, all heavily armed, advancing on the colony in a precise formation. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Hana ordered. "This is Captain Hana Park of the human vessel Endeavor. You are attacking a colony under diplomatic protection. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." The response came quickly, a harsh, clicking language that the translator struggled with. The message was simple. Inferior species, submit or die. Well, Hana said calmly, they're not big on negotiation. Weapons target their lead ships. Show them we're not helpless. The Endeavor's defense lasers lanced out, striking 2 Kresh vessels. The aliens' shields absorbed most of the damage, but they reacted with surprise, breaking formation slightly. They didn't expect resistance, Hyun observed. Good. Let's keep surprising them. Evasive pattern Delta. Make them work for every shot. The space battle was unlike anything Ji-won had seen even in simulations. The Endeavor was fast and maneuverable, but hopelessly outgunned. Hana used every trick she knew, keeping the larger Kresh ships off balance, forcing them to waste time and ammunition. Meanwhile, on the colony surface, Veldrathi cargo ships were landing everywhere. Civilians packed in by the thousands, far beyond safe capacity. The ships lifted off clumsily, fleeing toward the outer system. "We're saving them!" Velmoth's voice came over the comms from the station. "Your tactics are working. The Kresh are focused on your ship instead of the evacuation." "That's the idea," Hana said through gritted teeth as another impact rocked the Endeavor. "But we can't hold out much longer." Then Hyun shouted, "Captain, new contacts, multiple FTL signatures." The tactical display exploded with new markers. The Third Fleet had arrived early, Admiral Junho Kwon pushing his ships beyond safe limits to reach the battle. 20 human warships dropped into real space in perfect formation. Carriers, destroyers, frigates, real military vessels designed for one purpose: combat. Admiral Kwon's voice boomed over the comms. "Kresh vessels, you have attacked allies of humanity. Stand down or be destroyed." The Kresh response was to fire on the nearest human ship. They didn't fire a second time. What happened next would become legend among the Veldrathi. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, centuries of military doctrine translated into flawless execution. Every ship knew its role, every weapon fired with calculated efficiency. The Kresh had never faced coordinated military resistance before. They were used to overwhelming primitive species through sheer aggression. But humans had spent thousands of years learning how to fight. They had refined warfare into a science. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it was over, the Kresh fleet was destroyed or fleeing. Not one human ship was lost. The colony was safe. In the aftermath, Admiral Junho Kwon came aboard the Veldrathi station personally. He was an older man, gray-haired, with the calm confidence of someone who had commanded fleets for decades. Colonel Nari Shin accompanied him, a tactical specialist who had coordinated the fleet's devastating attack. The council assembled again, but this time there was no fear in their eyes, just awe and gratitude. "You saved us," Velmoth said simply. "Your people saved millions of lives." "That's what we do," Junho said. "We protect those who can't protect themselves." Nari spread out tactical displays showing the battle analysis. "The Kresh will be back. This was a probing attack. When they realize you have human protection, they'll either leave you alone or come in much greater force." "Then what do we do?" Kwanir asked. "You learn to defend yourselves," Nari said. She brought up schematics for defensive systems, patrol protocols, early warning networks. "We can teach you, not to make you warriors like us, but to give you the tools to protect your peace." Thexalar ruffled its feathers thoughtfully. "You would share your military knowledge after we feared and judged you?" "Of course," Taiho said. "That's what allies do." Over the following weeks, humanity and the Veldrathi Collective negotiated a formal alliance. Human military advisors set up defensive academies in Veldrathi space. They taught basic tactics, strategy, and security protocols. Not to create warriors, but to create protectors. Ji-won found herself assigned as an instructor. She stood before a class of young Veldrathi recruits from various species, all of them nervous and uncertain. "I know you're scared," she told them. I know violence goes against your nature, but I'm not here to make you violent. I'm here to teach you how to recognize threats, how to respond appropriately, and how to protect your people without becoming what you hate. A young insectoid raised a limb. What if we fail? What if we can't learn to fight? Then you call us, Jiwan said simply. That's what allies are for. But I think you'll surprise yourselves. The capacity to protect those you love exists in every sentient being. You just never needed to access it before. The training was slow at first. The Veldrathi struggled with concepts that humans found intuitive. But gradually they learned, not to be soldiers, but to be guardians. Months later, Jiwan stood with Velmoth on an observation deck, watching Veldrathi security forces conduct their first patrol of the outer system. We were so naive, Velmoth said quietly. We thought the galaxy was like us, peaceful, cooperative. We didn't understand that peace is something you must sometimes fight to preserve. You're learning fast, Jiwan said, because we have good teachers. Velmoth turned to her. When we first met, I called you harmless. I thought humans were weak because you were small and soft. I didn't understand that you are harmless only when you choose to be, that your restraint is not weakness, but strength. We learned that lesson over thousands of years and millions of deaths, Jiwan said. You're lucky you had us to teach you instead of having to learn it yourselves. Do you think the creche will return? Maybe. Probably. But when they do, you'll be ready. And we'll be here to help. Velmoth made a gesture of respect, one that Jiwan had learned meant deep gratitude. You know, there is a phrase emerging in our language. A new concept we never needed before. We call it peaceful warrior. Someone who knows how to fight but chooses not to unless necessary. Someone who protects without seeking glory. That's a good phrase, Jiwan said. We learned it from you. Later, at a formal ceremony, the Veldrathi Council officially recognized humanity as guardians of the peace, a title that carried great honor in their culture. Ambassador Taiho accepted on behalf of Earth, promising that humanity would stand with the Veldrathi against any threat. As the ceremony ended and Jiwan prepared to return to Earth, she thought about how strange the journey had been. They had come seeking peaceful cooperation and nearly been rejected as violent predators. But in the end, it was humanity's understanding of violence that made them valuable allies. She remembered something her great-grandfather had told her. The purpose of learning to fight is so you never have to. The Veldrathi were learning that now, and the galaxy would be safer for it. Back on Earth, Jiwan sat in her small apartment, watching news coverage of the Alliance. Commentators discussed the implications, the cultural exchange, the new era of cooperation between humanity and the collective. Her communicator chimed, a message from Velmoth. First Veldrathi security class graduated today. They asked me to thank you for your teaching. They understand now that protecting peace requires strength. We are grateful for your patience with us. Jiwan smiled and typed back. Tell them I'm proud of them. And tell them to stay vigilant. The galaxy is big and not always friendly. But now they're ready for it. She looked out at the stars, at the vast universe full of unknown threats and potential friends. Somewhere out there, the Veldrathi were standing their first real guard duty, protecting their peaceful civilization with knowledge gained from humanity's violent history. It was strange how things worked out. The aliens had believed humans were harmless. In a way, they were right. Humans could be harmless. They chose to be harmless most of the time, but that choice was backed by the knowledge of what they could do if harmlessness wasn't enough. And that, Jiwan thought, was the real strength. Not the ability to fight, but the wisdom to know when fighting was necessary and the restraint to avoid it when it wasn't. The peaceful warrior. Humanity had spent thousands of years becoming exactly that. and now they were teaching others to walk the same path.